The greatest spiritual journey you'll ever undertake isn't about ascending to distant realms or attaining supernatural powers. It's about freeing yourself from the invisible chains you've forged across lifetimes. Welcome, seekers of truth. Today we delve into the profound mystery of why so many authentic souls find their spiritual paths repeatedly blocked, their awakening stalled, often without ever recognizing the true forces at play. As the venerable mystic Edgar Cayce frequently revealed in his readings, our earthly existence is far more intricately linked to past lives and unseen dimensions than conventional wisdom dares to imagine. These aren't mere psychological hurdles, but deep-seated spiritual realities that subtly govern our experience, shaping our challenges and determining the pace of our soul's evolution. We are, in essence, operating under the influence of 5 unseen forces, often born of our own forgotten past, that subtly but powerfully impede the very spiritual awakening we earnestly seek. Understanding these forces, acknowledging their presence, is the first step towards dismantling them and unlocking your true, boundless potential. This is a journey not for the faint of heart, but for those courageous enough to peer into the hidden mechanics of their own spiritual progression, ready to confront the deep truths that will ultimately set them free. The first of these unseen forces blocking your spiritual awakening is unrecognized karmic debts. Many perceive karma as a simple tit-for-tat system, a direct consequence of good or bad actions in this life. But the true depth of karmic debt, as revealed through ancient wisdom and Edgar Cayce's insights, extends far beyond intricately weaving through multiple incarnations. It is not merely a punishment, but an energetic imbalance, an unfulfilled lesson, or an unresolved injustice carried in the very fabric of the soul. These are often the roots of inexplicable suffering, recurring patterns of financial hardship despite diligent effort, persistent relationship struggles that mirror previous disappointments, or a gnawing sense of self-sabotage that feels beyond conscious control. Consider, for instance, the individual who perpetually finds themselves in situations where they are betrayed, or their trust is violated, despite their earnest desire for loyalty and truth. From a karmic perspective, this may not be random misfortune, but a soul re-experiencing a lesson it once inflicted or failed to learn in a prior existence. Perhaps they once abused trust or turned a blind eye to another's betrayal. And now, the universe, in its infinite wisdom, presents them with the opportunity to understand, forgive, and rectify that energetic imbalance. The irony is, we often rail against these patterns, perceiving them as external forces of bad luck, never realizing they are echoes of our own past actions, demanding attention and resolution. True spiritual awakening requires a willingness to look beyond the immediate manifestation of a problem and inquire into its deeper, transpersonal origins. It demands honest self-assessment, not of this life's failures alone, but of the soul's long journey. Until these karmic threads are consciously acknowledged, understood, and balanced through sincere repentance, forgiveness, and new patterns of action, they act as an invisible anchor, holding the soul captive to repetitive cycles, preventing the free flow of higher spiritual energies necessary for true liberation. Cayce emphasized that these debts are best cleared not through penance, but through embodying the opposite virtue to the past transgression, expressing unconditional love, service, and understanding, running parallel to the weight of karmic debts, is the unseen force of unresolved emotional residue. This is far more than simply unprocessed feelings in a psychological sense. This residue comprises the deep, energetic imprints of unaddressed trauma, profound grief, simmering anger, and calcified fear that have become lodged within the soul's subtle body. When we suppress, deny, or bypass intense emotions, they do not simply vanish. Instead, they condense into vibrational blockages, creating energetic scars that distort our perception, attract resonant low-frequency experiences, and ultimately hinder our connection to higher states of consciousness. Think of it as a dense, murky fog around the soul, preventing the light of awakening from fully penetrating. A person might experience chronic anxiety without a discernible cause, struggle with an inexplicable sense of emptiness, or find themselves unable to form truly intimate connections, constantly pushing others away. These aren't necessarily character flaws, but manifestations of ancient wounds, spiritual fragments yearning for integration. For example, a soul might carry the residue of immense loss from a previous life, leading to a profound, untraceable sadness in this one, or an inability to fully embrace joy, or the unexpressed rage from a betrayal long past, might manifest as explosive outbursts, or a deep-seated resentment against authority figures, seemingly without current provocation. This emotional residue dictates our subtle reactions, our energetic fields, and unconsciously attracts circumstances that force us to confront what we've attempted to bury. The true spiritual path is not about constantly seeking only positive vibes or using affirmations to gloss over deep-seated pain. That is spiritual bypassing. Instead, it is about having the courage to descend into the depths of these buried emotions, to feel them fully, to understand their origins, and to consciously release them. Edgar Cayce's work consistently highlighted the critical link between emotional and spiritual health, emphasizing that true healing occurs when the soul acknowledges and integrates its fragmented parts. Until this residue is cleansed through compassionate awareness and genuine emotional processing, it acts as a constant interference, preventing the soul from fully ascending to its intended vibrational frequency and experiencing genuine awakening, intertwined. With our personal, karmic, and emotional landscape are the powerful, often subconscious influences of unconscious soul contracts. These are not legal documents, but energetic agreements, pacts made by our soul with other souls or entities, often before our current incarnation, designed to facilitate specific lessons or growth trajectories while chosen by the higher self. For ultimate evolution, these contracts can manifest in earthly life as relationships that feel intensely binding, yet are deeply challenging, or life circumstances that seem impossible to escape. Consider the individual who finds themselves repeatedly drawn into relationships with partners who are emotionally unavailable or deeply manipulative, despite their conscious desire for healthy, reciprocal love. This might be a recurring soul contract designed to teach lessons of self-worth, boundaries, or unconditional love, often with a soul who agreed to play the challenging role. Or perhaps someone feels an overwhelming, unexplained obligation to a family member or a particular cause, sacrificing their own well-being in a way that feels self-defeating. This could be an echo of a soul contract to balance a past imbalance, or fulfill a specific mission within their soul group. The irony here is that what appears from a human perspective as persistent bad luck or a personal failing is, from a higher vantage point, a precisely calibrated curriculum designed by the soul itself. These contracts are intricate threads in the tapestry of our spiritual destiny, guiding our interactions, our challenges, and our triumphs. Edgar Cayce often spoke of soul groups and the intricate ways souls journey together across lifetimes, fulfilling agreements and working through shared lessons. We might be bound by a contract to experience certain types of suffering, to develop compassion, or to overcome specific betrayals, to cultivate profound resilience. The unseen aspect lies in our unconsciousness of these agreements. We live out their terms without understanding the underlying purpose, often feeling trapped or victimized. True liberation begins when we gain awareness of these contracts, understanding why certain patterns recur, and then consciously choosing how to fulfill or renegotiate them from a place of higher consciousness and free will. This conscious engagement transforms perceived burdens into powerful catalysts for accelerated spiritual growth. Moreover, a significant unseen force that sabotages spiritual awakening is our resistance to the shadow self. The shadow self, as defined by Carl Jung, is the unconscious aspect of the personality that the conscious ego does not identify with. It contains repressed qualities, instincts, and desires, often perceived as negative or undesirable. From a spiritual perspective, it is more profound. It represents the fragmented or unintegrated aspects of our soul that we have denied, judged, or pushed into the subconscious across countless lifetimes. This isn't about being inherently evil, but about refusing to acknowledge our full spectrum of being, our anger, our envy, our hidden capacities for manipulation, our deep-seated fears, and even our immense, unacknowledged power. When we resist the shadow, we inadvertently create energetic fragmentation. We project these unacknowledged parts onto others, judging them for what we secretly fear or possess within ourselves. This denial leads directly to spiritual bypassing, a dangerous phenomenon where an individual uses spiritual practices and beliefs to avoid confronting unresolved emotional and psychological issues. For example, a person might constantly preach about love and light, while subtly engaging in passive-aggressive behaviors or holding deep resentments they refuse to acknowledge. Or someone might endlessly seek external validation through spiritual titles or achievements, desperate to outrun a core feeling of unworthiness that resides in their unaddressed shadow. The irony is that the very darkness we resist holds the keys to our greatest liberation. As Edgar Cayce taught, truth and healing come from facing what is, not from pretending it isn't. When we refuse to integrate our shadow, it remains unhealed, subtly dictating our behaviors, undermining our intentions, and preventing true spiritual wholeness. It creates internal conflict, siphoning off vital energy that could be used for genuine awakening. The path to authentic spiritual growth demands radical self-honesty, a willingness to embrace all aspects of our being, the light and the dark, the divine and the human. It is in the courageous act of acknowledging, understanding, and integrating our shadow, that we reclaim our complete power, allowing the totality of our being to align with our higher purpose and truly step into our awakened self. Without this integration, our spiritual progress remains superficial, easily shattered by the very truths we've chosen to ignore. Finally, the fifth unseen force, perhaps the most insidious because it masquerades as achievement, is spiritual complacency. This is not overt spiritual pride, but a subtle, creeping stagnation that occurs when a seeker believes they have arrived, that they have learned enough, or that their current level of understanding is sufficient. It is the cessation of active inquiry, honest self-reflection, and genuine, humble seeking. It manifests as a rigid adherence to dogma without fresh insight, a subtle arrogance when discussing spiritual concepts, or a resistance to new teachings that might challenge established comfort zones. Consider the person who, after a profound meditative experience or a moment of deep insight, decides they have attained enlightenment and consequently ceases their diligent spiritual practices, their self-examination, or their service to others. Or perhaps someone who has read many spiritual texts and acquired vast theoretical knowledge, yet avoids applying these truths to the messy, challenging realities of their daily life. Viewing spiritual development as a purely intellectual pursuit, the irony of spiritual complacency is that the illusion of mastery prevents true mastery. The spiritual journey, as Edgar Cayce continually reminded us, is not a destination but an infinite process of becoming. To truly awaken is to understand that there is always more to learn, more to integrate, more to embody. When we become complacent, we close ourselves off from divine guidance, from new lessons, and from the subtle nudges of our higher self. We cease to flow with the dynamic current of universal evolution, essentially stopping our own growth. This stagnation creates a subtle block, dulling our spiritual senses and preventing us from reaching new heights of consciousness. It's akin to a student who, after mastering the basics, refuses to advance to higher education, believing they know all there is to know. The universe, in its wisdom, will often present new challenges to shake us out of this complacency. Yet we may resist, clinging to the comfort of what we already think we know. True spiritual maturity lies in perpetual humility, a relentless curiosity, and an unwavering commitment to self-transformation, regardless of how much one believes they have already achieved. It is in this continuous, humble seeking that genuine, spiritual awakening unfolds, not in the illusion of having reached an endpoint. The journey we have explored isn't linear, but cyclical. These 5 unseen forces and recognized karmic debts, unresolved emotional residue, unconscious soul contracts, resistance to the shadow self, and spiritual complacency, are not external punishments, but internal reflections, deeply embedded patterns that serve as catalysts for profound soul evolution. Edgar Cayce's profound insights consistently emphasize that our challenges are never random, but custom-designed lessons, opportunities for us to grow, to heal, and to remember our divine heritage. The path forward begins with honest self-assessment, a willingness to look inward without judgment, to unravel these intricate threads of past and present that bind our souls. Awareness is the first and most crucial step toward freedom. By recognizing these unseen forces, you reclaim your power, transforming potential obstacles into stepping stones on your authentic journey toward spiritual awakening and liberation. This is your birthright. Remember always that you are more than your present circumstances, more than your perceived limitations. You are an eternal soul on a magnificent journey of discovery. Asterisk, if these words have touched something deep within you, if they have resonated with the truth you feel in your soul, please take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Your spiritual journey doesn't have to be walked alone. Join our community of authentic seekers committed to genuine transformation. Share in the comments below which of these spiritual forces you've recognized in your own life, or what insights this discussion has sparked within you. Your honesty and perspective may be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Remember, in this vast cosmic web, we heal not only ourselves, but each other through shared understanding and collective awakening. Click that subscribe button. Join our growing community and let us continue exploring these sacred mysteries together. The next chapter of your journey awaits.